Hi, I'm Charlie. Can we really trace the rise of AI to a 13th century Arab market in Bujia? Let's find out. These children are doing something amazing. In a single moment, they're learning, absorbing everything around them at an astonishing rate. They're recognizing faces, differentiating colors, forming opinions, navigating friendships. They're not just imitating, they're understanding, adapting, making split second decisions about what to trust, what to avoid, and how to interact with the world around them. Every glance, every touch, every sound is shaping their perception, building a model of the world that's both flexible and deeply human. But what if we tried to teach a machine to do the same? The concept of learning has been with us since the beginning of human history, but the idea of machines learning, understanding, and evolving, that's something relatively new. And to get there, we start with something deceptively simple. An Arab market in Bujia, 13th century, and a man named Leonardo of Pisa. It's the 13th century and a European market. The merchants are selling their wares and tallying their profits. But imagine for a moment the numbers they're working with. Not the numbers you and I think of, but Roman numerals. They didn't have a zero, just letters and cumbersome combinations that made even simple multiplication or division a nightmare. Try working out CCC XLV divided by XVI in your head. You get the picture. Now here comes Leonardo of Pisa, a young Italian traveler whom history would remember as Fibonacci. His father was a merchant's agent stationed in Bujia, a bustling port in present-day Algeria. Fibonacci grew up surrounded by traders and mathematicians from the Arab world who were doing math in a way that seemed almost magical. These North African merchants weren't wasting time with counting boards or Roman numerals. They were writing numbers in a simple and astonishing new way, using Arabic numerals, including the number zero. With the simple addition of zero, they could add, subtract, divide, multiply faster than anyone in Europe. Fibonacci was intrigued. He devoured this new method and saw immediately how powerful it was. Returning to Italy, he wrote a book called Liber Abaci, the Book of Calculation, and it caused a sensation. With these Arabic numerals and the concept of zero, merchants could now calculate profits, work out interest, and expand their transactions far more efficiently. The numeral system that Fibonacci championed spread quickly, laying down an invisible infrastructure beneath every financial transaction that would follow. Okay, let's skip ahead to the late 1400s in Venice, where Luca Pacioli, a mathematician and Franciscan friar, is completing one of the most influential books of his time, the Summa de Arithmetica, Geometria, Proportioni et Proportionalita. Within its pages lies a powerful system, double-entry bookkeeping. This will transform commerce and redefine wealth across Europe. Pacioli didn't invent double-entry bookkeeping. Early forms were already in use among merchants in Genoa and Venice, but he formalized it, providing a structured method where each transaction is recorded twice, once as a debit, then as a credit. Written using the Arabic numerals Fibonacci had introduced centuries earlier, this system made complex financial transactions manageable in a way that Roman numerals never could. For the first time, businesses had a way to track data efficiently, catching errors and balancing accounts with precision. Enter the Medici family, Florence's banking giants. Using Pacioli's method, they could oversee finances across their empire, from Florence to London, with clarity and control. For the Medicis, each ledger wasn't just an accounting, it was a tool of power, giving them insights and influence. Double-entry bookkeeping became more than a record-keeping method. It was a mindset, a structured approach to data that would echo far beyond finance, laying down the very principles of organized information systems that, centuries later, would become vital in our data-driven world. While the Medici family's double-entry bookkeeping transforms finance, in a small workshop in Mainz, Germany, another quiet revolution is underway. Around 1450, Johannes Gutenberg, a German goldsmith, invents the printing press. The concept of reproducing text isn't new. Monks have copied manuscripts by hand for centuries. But Gutenberg's movable type press changes everything. Books can now be printed quickly, accurately, and affordably. With books suddenly within the reach of scholars and common folk alike, knowledge becomes accessible across classes. Philosophy, science, mathematics, ideas that were once rare treasures now spread like wildfire. For the first time, information isn't confined to the wealthy, it's a public currency, feeding a hunger for knowledge across Europe. This new flow of information prepares the ground for breakthroughs in every field, as ideas circulate and spark new connections. Just as double-entry bookkeeping organized data, Gutenberg's press organizes and distributes knowledge, setting the stage for an interconnected world of shared ideas. And in this new, rapidly expanding world of ideas, a particular thirst for understanding is now growing. Let's jump to the 17th century, when scientific knowledge began to circulate across Europe with unprecedented reach. The Renaissance had laid a foundation of curiosity and method, and thinkers everywhere were consuming the latest works: Kepler's insights on planetary motion, Galileo's observation on gravity, even though it wasn't being called gravity as of yet, discoveries that hinted at a universe bound by principles that could be calculated. This drive to quantify nature led to a remarkable rivalry that would change mathematics forever. In Cambridge, Isaac Newton was absorbed by the mysteries of motion, aiming to find a mathematics of change to explain how objects move and accelerate. At the same time, in Germany, Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz was on a similar path, exploring ways math could be used to solve real-world problems. Separately, Newton and Leibniz invented calculus, Newton's fluxions and Leibniz's differential calculus. Despite different approaches, they created a language for continuous change, one that can map everything from the orbits of planets to the velocity of falling objects. Calculus didn't just help describe the natural world. It introduced a framework of precision, a way to model change in a structured, organized way. It was the first step towards seeing the world through complex relationships, flows, and predictive outcomes. The influence of calculus on data organization and computation can't be overstated. This language of change evolved into the algorithms we use today, forming the backbone of everything from physics to biology, economics, and even, yes, artificial intelligence. These algorithms allow us to process and predict relationships based on continuous data flows, echoing the very principles of calculus that once mapped the stars. Newton and Leibniz's work transformed how data could be structured, predicted, and analyzed, laying the groundwork for complex interconnected systems that power our world today. And just as calculus was mapping the universe, another stimulant for ideas was brewing. It's the mid-17th century, and a new drink, coffee, is changing the social landscape of England. Thanks to trade with the Ottoman Empire, coffee houses are springing up across London. The first, opened in 1652 by Armenian Pasquale Rosé, brings together people from all walks of life, offering a space where sharp minds, awake and alert, gather to debate the latest science, literature, and philosophy. Unlike taverns, coffee houses are known as penny universities, where for a penny, you could join a discussion on the day's theories and news. These coffee houses attract intellectuals like Isaac Newton, Samuel Pepys, and Christopher Wren, each space drawing thinkers of shared interests and creating a semi-organized flow of knowledge. Coffee houses served as a kind of proto-database, a network where ideas were gathered, debated, and cross-referenced in real time. In this way, the coffee house wasn't merely a place for conversation, it was the birthplace of concepts that would drive the organization of knowledge and ultimately the digital age. Let's leave the buzzing coffee houses of the Enlightenment and jump ahead to 19th century London. By now, the Industrial Revolution is transforming Britain, and ideas about knowledge and logic are being translated into machines, tools meant to make calculations flawless and mechanical. Meet Charles Babbage. He's a mathematician with a fascination for order and aversion to human error. In the evenings, Babbage joined London's intellectual elite at the Royal Society and Cambridge's Analytical Society, with a tradition of coffeehouse free-flowing ideas and interdisciplinary discussions persisted. Here, the collaborative energy of the coffee houses evolved into rigorous scientific inquiry, and in this setting, Babbage developed an extraordinary idea: a machine that could follow instructions with perfect precision, eliminating the mistakes he saw in human calculations. He called it the analytical engine, a mechanical computer designed to handle equations with gears, wheels, and cranks. For Babbage, this machine wasn't just about solving math problems, it was an attempt to mechanize logic itself, aligning with the Enlightenment ideas that the universe, like his machine, could be understood as a system governed by precise rules. Now meet Ada Lovelace, the brilliant daughter of poet Lord Byron and a true intellectual in her own right. Though they came from different worlds, Babbage, the product of scientific rigor, and Lovelace raised on a blend of art and logic, they struck up a rare intellectual partnership. Lovelace was captivated by the potential of Babbage's analytic engine, but she saw possibilities even he hadn't imagined. Where Babbage saw a calculator, Lovelace saw a visionary tool. She imagined the analytic engine not only as a number cruncher, but something that could create, weave, and explore ideas, drawing parallels between the engine and the Jacquard loom, which wove intricate patterns with punch cards. In her eyes, the engine could process symbols, sounds, even musical notes, an early glimpse of programming potential. Together, Babbage and Lovelace explored the potential of a machine that could go beyond arithmetic, capable of organizing and processing information just as the coffeehouses had structured and cross-referenced ideas. Lovelace's vision of the analytic machine was groundbreaking. Their work planted the seeds for a new concept, that logical thought, perhaps even creativity, could be reduced to a series of instructions and processes. Yet these ideas would lay dormant, waiting nearly a century to resurface in a new age of machines. We're in the 20th century now, where the world stands on the cusp of a digital revolution. The early 1940s found a young British mathematician, Alan Turing, joining the secret code-breaking efforts at Bletchley Park. But Turing isn't just focused on breaking codes. He's inspired by the legacy of Lovelace and Babbage, who imagined machines capable of more than mere calculations. Turing believes machines could think in patterns and even adapt. Turing grew up with the story of Babbage's analytic engine and Lovelace's groundbreaking idea that machines might process symbols, create, and simulate logic. Lovelace's writings hinted at a machine that could work beyond arithmetic, embracing the full scope of human symbols. This inspired Turing's central question: what if a single machine could imitate any other machine given the right instructions? In 1936, before the war, Turing outlined his concept of a universal machine, a theoretical device capable of performing any calculation or following any set of instructions. Unlike anything imagined before, Turing's universal machine formalized what we now call computation, answering Lovelace's earlier vision by showing how machines could process language, logic, and more. He picked up where she left off, pushing her ideas into a structured framework. During the war, Turing's theory came to life as his machines at Bletchley Park used coded instructions to break Germany's Enigma code. These machines demonstrated that a system could adapt to complex tasks, recognize patterns, and even simulate human problem solving. His efforts didn't just help win the war, they laid the groundwork for digital computing, igniting a field where machines could transcend mere calculation. And so, Turing's work laid the foundation for digital computing, inspired by Lovelace's vision of a machine capable of processing patterns and logic. But to push further, to create machines that might truly simulate thought, we need an understanding not just of codes and logic, but of the mind itself. This next leap would take us into a completely different field, where two unlikely pioneers, Warren McCulloch and Walter Pitts, would explore the brain as a network of signals and set the stage for a new way of thinking about thinking. In the 1940s, scientists and thinkers were beginning to ask profound questions about the human mind itself. Into this world stepped two unconventional pioneers, Warren McCulloch, a neuroscientist fascinated by the brain's inner workings, and Walter Pitts, a young logician who saw mathematics as a language for understanding thought. McCulloch and Pitts were part of a new movement, aiming to understand the brain not merely as biology, but as a system of logic and signals. Their question was ambitious. Could thought itself be mapped? If each neuron could be simplified to an on or off state, a series of firings or silent signals, might the brain function like a biological machine? In 1943, McCulloch and Pitts proposed a groundbreaking mathematical model of neurons, a framework that treated each neuron like a binary switch, much like the circuits in an electronic device. Their work suggested that even complex mental processes could be broken down into sequences of logical steps. They were addressing a question that had intrigued philosophers for centuries. Could the mind be reduced to a predictable, organized state? The implications of their model were enormous. If mental processes could be simplified into structured sequences, then thought itself, in theory, could be simulated. This hinted at a future where machines might not only mimic human logic, but simulate forms of reasoning and decision-making. Their model gave rise to the concept of neural networks, systems designed to learn and recognize patterns, forming the basis for fields that would blend computation with the biology of the mind. In combining neuroscience and mathematics, McCullough and Pitts lit a spark that would ignite disciplines from psychology to artificial intelligence. They didn't just give us a new way to think about neurons. They hinted at a way to think about thinking itself as something that could be organized, modeled, and perhaps one day even replicated. It's the summer of 1956 at Dartmouth College, and a young researcher, John McCarthy, has gathered some of the brightest minds in science to explore an ambitious question: can machines be made to think? McCarthy calls his new science artificial intelligence, and he's assembled a mix of mathematicians, engineers, and physiobiologists to help define a framework for machines that might simulate reasoning, learning, and maybe even understanding. For several weeks, the group debates concepts that sound like science fiction, machines that not only calculate, but could also adapt and learn from experience. Drawing from Turing's universal machine and Walter and Pitts' neuron models, they imagine computers that evolve through logic and feedback. The discussions are thrilling and speculative, and they set out to map this unexplored field. The conference ignites a movement, and McCarthy, along with Marvin Minsky, soon establishes one of the first AI research labs at MIT. McCarthy pioneers Lisp, a programming language crafted for AI, allowing machines to process logic and symbols with surprising fluidity. The Dartmouth Conference triggers a wave of AI research from MIT to Stanford, fueled by government funding and hopes for applications in problem solving and military use. The Dartmouth Conference isn't just a meeting, it's the origin of a new vision for computing. Artificial intelligence now has a name, a community, and a blueprint that will drive forward our understanding of intelligence, machines, and even ourselves. By the 1980s, artificial intelligence had survived many decades of starts and stops, with researchers making breakthroughs in theory. But there was always one persistent problem: data, or rather the lack of it. For machines to learn, they need information, lots of it. But information in the 20th century is scattered across books, libraries, and isolated databases. If AI is going to grow, it needs access to a world of knowledge. And that world needs a better way to organize and connect. That's where Tim Berners-Lee comes in. He's a British scientist at CERN, the European Research Center. Berners-Lee sees the problem. Scientists from around the world collaborate on complex projects, but there's no cohesive way for them to share data. So he creates a system, a series of links and addresses that at first looks like an obscure bit of computer code. But this code has the power to turn local databases into something global, and he calls it the World Wide Web. With the birth of the internet, the world suddenly has a digital nervous system. Information that was once locked away in physical documents or isolated computers can now travel instantaneously from continent to continent. It's a revolution in data sharing, one that makes AI's appetite for knowledge suddenly sustainable. Every web page, every digital document, every bit of user-generated content becomes a new piece of data, potential fuel for machine learning. The internet becomes the ultimate coffeehouse, a digital commons where knowledge flows freely, and every click, every connection enriches the collective pool of information. For the first time, machines can access massive volumes of information, the essential lifeblood they need to process, learn, and evolve. The internet doesn't just connect people, it creates a parallel world of data, one that grows more sophisticated with every second. And as this web of information expands, AI has a playground, an ecosystem of knowledge that gives it the scope to do what early pioneers like McCarthy and Turing could only dream about, learning not from a single book or database, but from the collective knowledge of humanity itself. By the early 2000s, we're looking at a new era of data. This time it's personal. Social media is changing the landscape as platforms like Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram open a new window into human behavior. People around the world are sharing their thoughts, preferences, and daily routines. This isn't just a snapshot, it's an unfiltered view of what we like, how we think, and what we crave. AI, once working with limited structured databases, now has a wellspring of data that grows by the second, giving it something invaluable, insights into us. This avalanche of data fuels a transformation. Machines can now analyze patterns not just from static documents, but from our personal choices, who we interact with, what we click on, or even how long we hover over a photo. Each like, share, and comment becomes a tiny data point, a brushstroke in AI's growing portrait of human behavior. Social media, along with tools like ChatGPT, isn't just feeding information into AI, it's showing AI how we interact, how we make decisions, and how we relate to one another. And the scale? It's unfathomable. Every day, billions of data points flow into these platforms, each one a pixel in an image AI continuously refines. It predicts our interests, recommends music, curates products, and in some cases, even anticipates our next move. This vast, ever-expanding web of information is what gives AI the ability to adapt to our tastes in real time, making suggestions so tailored that they almost feel personal. So here we are, back where we began. The children are still there on the playground, inventing games, exchanging ideas, learning at a rate no machine has ever achieved. They're connecting, interpreting, adapting in ways that seem effortless. All the while, artificial intelligence, the accumulation of ideas from Fibonacci's numbers to Turing's logic, stands at the edge of the playground, watching, observing, trying to learn. We've spent centuries inching closer, from Fibonacci's number systems that unlock trade and calculation, to McCullough and Pitt's mapping thought like a logic circuit, to Turing's machines and McCarthy's vision of artificial intelligence. And now, here we are, with AI powerful enough to recommend music, diagnose diseases, even create stories. Lovelace's musings that machines could go beyond calculation, that they could engage in creativity itself, are becoming real. But as impressive as AI has become, it's still limited. Because unlike those children, AI doesn't understand, it predicts, based on patterns it's learned. It doesn't learn freely as they do. It responds to data, to instructions, to carefully curated streams of information. So how close is AI to that playground? Can they really join in? Or is it forever an outsider, learning rules but missing the essence, the intuition, the flexibility of human thought? And that leaves us with a question as old as the journey itself. We've asked whether machines could think, whether they could learn. But maybe the real question now isn't whether machines will one day be able to play alongside us on that playground, but rather, what will they have learned about us, about being human, if they do? Hi, my name's Charlie. Hi, my name's Charlie. I really appreciate you watching. If you did like the video, give us a thumbs up. If you didn't like the video, then I really appreciate you watching. Thank you so much. If you have a comment, throw a comment down there. Let us know what you thought about it. If you have any ideas for future videos. Also, please like, share, subscribe. All that stuff really helps us. Until next time, stay historic.